Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mary Red Nelson Panther Nation Alumni Show. And I'm James Slim Overton. I'm your host. And of course, we're representing the Mary Red Nelson Hampton Roads Alumni Chapter of Virginia Union University. That is a mouthful, but that's who we are, alumni here in the Hampton Roads area in Virginia. So today we have with us our president, Natalie Meade Johnson. How you doing? I'm going to say good morning. I'm used to doing a morning show, but good afternoon, good evening. How are
Good
you?
evening. I'm well. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and thanks for joining us here on our alumni show. And you are no stranger to it. You were on one of our first shows that was called "The Changing of the Guard," and we had you up here and a few uh, administrators from the university,
Mhm.
opening up your presidency, and they gave some information about what's going on at the university. And hope with this channel, we'll get a lot more that to share with our viewers. But anyway, thanks for coming on, and your new president, and you really hit the ground running.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think you were really prepared, and I see why. Looking at your bio and all the positions you held,
Yeah.
and you moved around a little bit, and you were from. Help me with the pronunciation of the town from Pennsylvania you're in, because Tanzi was on last time, and that was easy, Pittsburgh,
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
right.
But you're from, well, I'll let you say it.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from Swickley.
Okay, that wasn't too bad. it,
No, it's
it
not.
looks worse than it is. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Actually,
where is
I
that
go ahead.
with, so people would know, where's that in conjunction with Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or wherever?
Yeah. So Swickley is on the best side of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we are, and that's just a joke for Philly's on the east side and Pittsburgh's on the west side. So the best side, the city of champions, we're actually west of Pittsburgh. So we're not too far from Pittsburgh, not too far from the Ohio line. But yeah, it's a sub west of the city of Pittsburgh, and it was just really a great town to grow up. But yeah, it's Swickley, Pennsylvania. Mhm.
Do you have to go through that situation? Like I remember I used to have to do when I was away and I was from Portsmouth, Virginia, and I would have to say, well, it's near Virginia Beach and near Norfolk. And I
Yeah,
guess you had to, you just kind of explain where you were.
yeah,
And I think sometimes you had to say, well, we're right in the middle of, this and
right.
that.
Yeah,
But
and sometimes even when people ask, "Well, where are you from?" I'll say the Pittsburgh area because it's just easier. And then you get those people, and I'm sure you did too, as in your travels. Well, where? Like because they're familiar with the area, and so then you can be a little bit more specific. And then they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." But it's normally easier just to say, "Yeah, I'm from the Pittsburgh area." Yeah,
yeah, yeah, just cut out all the other questions.
exactly.
And also, I looked at the high school you went to, and Quaker Valley High School. Does
Yeah.
that describe the area that you're from? Because I remember going to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where my brother lives. And
Okay.
we was driving there. On the way, we got lost. We came off the interstate, so we were driving, trying to find our way. And these horse and buggy carts, carriages kept passing by us. So we were in Amish country. So as with
Right.
Quaker Valley High School, does that describe the
No,
area you're
actually,
from?
there were no horse and buggies. It was just it's a nice suburb,
That was
and
just the name,
it's
just the
just
name,
the name.
Quaker.
And then, interestingly, our mascot though are Quakers, the mighty Quakers. But we weren't like Central PA, Lancaster area where you see like the Amish or. But no, no, it was just the name. I don't even know where Quaker Valley originated from, like where we got that name from. I'm not deep in history there, but no, nothing like that there. But it was, like I
Yeah,
said, beautiful. So if anyone ever travels to Pittsburgh and you just really want to see just a beautiful town, venture out to Swickley. So
Yeah, because a lot of people just when they think of Pennsylvania, they just think of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and Harrisburg. People don't even know Harrisburg is the capital. They think Philadelphia is.
Right.
So, but it's a lot more to Pennsylvania than meets the eye.
Oh, it's
And
beautiful.
go ahead. And speaking of that, how did you hear about, I always ask, the alums this, especially if they are from away. I can see if they're in Virginia, they're going to see Virginia Union, especially back when we used to play Norfolk State and all. How did you hear about Virginia Union and what encouraged you to say, I want to go there?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a long story because there's so many different facets as to what led me to Virginia Union. Number one, my parents are both historic HBCU grads. My mom went to Cheney, my dad went to West Virginia State University. And so one of the things that they instilled in myself and my siblings, I have three older siblings, is obviously going to college, but then really looking at HBCUs. So like my brother graduated from Texas Southern, my sister graduated from Norfolk State, as did my daughter. And my other sister actually attended Virginia State. And so they would obviously take us to universities, HBCUs, just to kind of visit. I went on a tour, and on one of the tours that I went on, Virginia Union was one of the stops. In addition to that, one of my father's dear friends, someone that I actually ended up calling my uncle, he was a fictive relative, but he was like my uncle, my mentor. He was a Union grad, Reverend Rainey. He also knew that I wanted to major in social work. He also majored in social work at Virginia Union. So he really encouraged me to attend. Kind of going back to my time at Quaker Valley, it was a small school, a small high school. And so pretty much anyone that lived in Swickley, unless you went to Swickley Academy, you went to one of the two elementary schools. Everyone went to the same junior high. Everyone went to the same high school. So it was a small field. So stepping onto Union's campus, a little bigger than Quaker Valley, it still provided that tight-knit family, small university. Like I felt like I belonged. And
what you were used to. Yeah.
What I was used to, exactly. So when it came down to the three HBCUs that I did apply to, Hampton being one, South Carolina State being the other, and then obviously Virginia Union, it felt like home. It felt like the best decision for me. In addition, because I was majoring in social work, I would have actually, when I graduated, I would graduate with a bachelor's in social work. And so that meant that I was able to receive, the knowledge and the skills and everything that I needed to actually practice coming out of having my bachelor's degree as a generalist social work practitioner.
Right.
So you really got all of that foundation to be a social worker right out of college. And so that meant a lot to me and helped make my decision on selecting Virginia Union. But, through my parents and then also the encouragement of an alum from Virginia Union, that's what led me to making one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Yes, yeah, and Natalie, and before I ask you this other question, I want to tell our viewers, make sure you like, subscribe, and you can comment as well during this live broadcast if you have something to say to Natalie or you have a comment to make, and make sure you also share it with family, friends, and potential students for the future at the Virginia Union. Natalie, and you mentioned that even before you got to Union, you wanted to major in social work. And I guess they started that major in social work right on time, because when I was there, of course, in the 70s, they didn't have that major. And I think that major in social work came much later. That's why a lot of people even that lived in Richmond, end up going to Norfolk State because they had a great social work program there.
And they still do.
And they still do. And it's actually named after, it's named after one of my classmates' mother, that taught
I
there
didn't
for
know
years.
that.
Yes,
Oh
Effingham
wow.
School of
Yeah.
Social Work, and we played basketball together at IC North in my high school.
Oh
So
wow.
and great program there. So I guess, do you know when the social work major came to or was offered at Union?
I do not know, but that would actually be great information to have.
Yeah,
Um,
I was just curious. I
yeah.
guess it's somewhere when they started, but when I first met you and you said you majored in social work, I went to the computer to check, oh, what other kind of majors they have, and I found out they had really grown as far as their majors, and especially offering of master's degrees and
Yes.
one doctorate, of course. So
Right.
I'm glad that they had that social work major there, since you were focused on that even from high school. That
I
brought you to
was.
Union.
I
Yeah.
actually was. I remember in my senior year in high school, we had to, do this. There's this project where you had to identify, like, what did you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up? I knew I wanted to be a social worker at that time, and so I actually shadowed a couple of different social workers, from school to a group home to a psychiatric hospital. So I knew very early on. I just didn't know, like, exactly where in the field I want it to be, but yeah, so and that's what I continue to do to this day for the city of Newport News. So,
Yes, yes. It's a really open field
oh,
for
for
the
sure.
city of Newport News. Do you know Dr. Bruce Copeland?
I do not.
He's head of social work well, you said Newport News, so he's in Hampton, of the
Oh,
Hampton
okay.
school system.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Yeah.
thought everybody in the peninsula knew everybody. Anyway, let's
Right
talk a
there.
little bit. Yeah, how about that? Let's talk a little bit about your experience on campus now. You said earlier that you were going to Union and it was a small setting and that's what you were used to. But what was your impression when you actually got there? You might have seen some pictures, but when you get there and see some of those stone brick buildings and it had to be different. Imagine going there in the 70s and you seeing a burned out chapel.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess by the time you got there, they had revamped it and
Oh,
rebuilt
yeah.
it and everything, and it was a fine looking building. But the first thing you ride up on campus and see this, and it's like that the whole time you're there. But what was your impression when you got there, even though you were expecting a small setting campus?
Yeah.
So how did you feel when you?
Honestly, because I had visited the university a couple of times
Okay,
prior to, coming
even
in
that first visit.
August of '95. I already knew about it, but honestly, there are other universities that I visited, and I was just like, oh, I'm not going here, But for Union, I do not recall having that thought. That wasn't my mindset when I went on. I guess I probably should think about, like, or remember. I just felt, like I said, I just felt like it was meant for me to be there.
Yeah,
Um,
you're here.
Yeah, if
Because
the
I
funny
remember.
thing
Oh,
is, oh, go ahead. No, I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say the funny thing is when I first started, because Sewickley is more of a predominantly there's predominantly white
Mhm.
community. There might have been, I think, as far as students of color in my senior class, between the male and females, I think there were probably about 7 of us that graduated. And although my mom was really into Black history, my dad was a pastor. He pastored at a church, and they grew up in a town not too far from Sewickley called Aliquippa. That was more of a heavily African American population in that town. So it's not that I've never was around Black people, but I will say when I went to Union, I was like, oh my, we're all here.
All these black people.
It was
But
great.
you know what's amazing, Natalie? Because I've talked to three of you now that are members of the chapter, and each one of you, the ladies, except for August, the ladies have had the same experience. They came Jocelyn, and
Uh-huh.
Katanza came from a sort of a predominantly white environment,
Yeah.
and when they came to Union, it was totally different. Even though it wasn't like you weren't used to Black people, but all in, you know, you
Yeah,
know, everywhere you went, um,
and it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
it had to be a beautiful thing, and it's something that really warmed your heart just to see that,
Yeah.
and have those professors there, and and another advantage of the small settings is the personal relationships you could develop with your professors.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And that was definitely key. And just to have that connection, and not even just the professors, but even just some of the other staff. And it, like, I was heavily involved while on campus in different organizations. And
Mhm.
so, just Mr. Page, who was like, I want to say he was like director of student activities or something like that. His office was in the the Henderson Center.
Mhm.
Mr. Meekins, who was like the kind of like the school counselor, and he was like over the ambassadors, the peer counselors, that's what we were called. And so for someone like me who likes to get involved, you start to build relationships also with just other faculty and staff on the campus, which when you're looking for a sense of belonging, I think that is so key. And although I feel like I would have done that even at a larger institution, it was just something about, it was a little easier to do it on Union's campus and to have those relationships, which means I'm then going to be one of those students that you can retain because I feel connected to the university. And which is also just another reason why after graduating, I wanted to find different ways to remain connected to the university, which has ultimately led me to where I am now, in the role that I am. But even if I wasn't the president of this chapter, I still would have been involved like I was when I first joined, when I moved down here in 2021. But it's important to have those relationships. So because ultimately you want your graduates to be active alum, right? And so you try to find different ways to engage them while they are students to ultimately want to give back to the university once they graduate.
So you had three other siblings and older sisters, I think you said, and
Two older
so
sisters and a brother. Uh-huh.
older sisters and a brother. And so, usually in a family like that, you have certain responsibilities. So how was that experience, or how was that responsibility? How did that carry on over into when you got to Union? Because when you get to college, especially in your freshman year, you have to prioritize things. You have to realize I have to get up on my own, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and some days I don't have to go to class,
Yeah.
but I have to be disciplined enough to make sure that's something that I do. No one's really pushing you per se, like parents.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that change for you, or was it a change coming from a household with other siblings? With, like I said, normally you have separate responsibilities, and it sort of helps you. But was it a
Yeah.
big change for you?
It wasn't a change. I mean, I was the baby of the four of us. I also didn't want to like disappoint my parents. I felt
Mhm.
like I was responsible enough to, do what I needed to do to get up on time, you know. So it really wasn't a big change. My oldest sister, she's 9 years, I believe she's no 7 years older than me. So she was like
Mhm.
off to college and stuff. And my one sister that I'm closest to, she was actually at Norfolk State when I was at Union. So
Okay.
we would see each other on occasion. But as far as just kind of adjusting to college life from, leaving my parents and siblings, it wasn't that bad of an adjustment. Yeah, I tried to be an ideal student. So other than the fact that I might have maybe scheduled a class around like, one of the stories or something. But other than that, it wasn't that big of an adjustment for me.
Well, you graduated, so obviously you got all the chapel credits. So,
Oh, for sure. Being part of the choir helped. You're
but
literally at chapel every Thursday as a member
yeah,
of the choir. So
yeah, and I can tell that you probably were a responsible student. But the other part of college life is that social life that you have. And did you pledge your AKA? Did you pledge on campus or grad?
on campus,
Okay,
yeah, on
so
campus, yeah. But unfortunately, it was my not unfortunately, it was my senior year, so I didn't really have like the
so a lot of
longevity
things were
call.
behind you already. A lot of
Right.
the hard
So
subjects.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like at the same time trying to figure out what's life like after union. But yes,
Mhm.
no. So I had that. Um, Alpha Eta chapter, that Virginia Union. And then,
Shout out.
um, yeah, and so, like I said, I was part of the choir. I was part of the mentoring program that we did with Carver Elementary called the Carver Promise. So I co-led that. Social work club. We had a dance group called the Mahogany Pearls, so we would
Mhm.
usually dance during basketball. I used to play clarinet when I was in high school.
Mhm.
So I did a little bit with the pep band, which I really wasn't that good of a player. I think they were just being nice to me. But we actually had a chance to go to Louisville, Kentucky, when the basketball team went for one of the tournaments. So that was really exciting. And then also hitting up the CIAA because, our basketball team was good, but when I was there in the late 90s, like we were really, really great. And so that was exciting. And then, like I said, a peer counselor, really working with the students as they came on campus as freshmen, and then just working with students throughout the year. But then ultimately, the one thing that, probably the highlight of being and I was also in SGA, a number of different SGA
Mhm.
positions. But the main thing is Miss Virginia Union. So that is like that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, so you were totally involved, and that's a big part of the campus. I mean, the college experience anyway. It's just a matter of knowing, you know, being disciplined enough to know where to put the studies and where to put the other extra curricular activities,
Oh,
because it's all a part of it. So now, uh, your now husband,
mhm.
was there at the same time. Now, was that a union at union, or was or
Actually, no. We knew each
it
other.
wasn't?
We both came in at the same year. So in '95, we knew each other. We were friends when we were on campus, both social work majors. But it wasn't until like years later, like 2016 or so,
Mhm.
that we reconnected through on social media. Interestingly, through a mutual friend of ours that also went to Union, and then, as they say, the rest is history. But yeah, we were really just friends on campus.
Okay, I asked that because it was a lot of during the a lot of unions at union,
Oh yeah,
and some of those people are still together today. I had one, but it didn't. It didn't last. But that's why I asked that. I didn't know if that was because I know both of you all. You 99, he's
hmm
2000. Am I correct?
yes, 2000. He's
Yeah.
2000.
And
Uh-huh.
I didn't know if it's because it's something about union that creates those unions.
Yeah,
It's all in the name.
yeah.
Unions
It's
at union. So
actually really
it
great to
actually did
see.
start at union, but it just didn't
Yeah.
manifest itself until later.
hmm Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So it started, but yeah, it became something later on. But one of his close friends, he married his sweetheart from Union, and so it is really nice to see, people who have been able to carry that on through the years. It's
Hmm.
yeah, and have those unions.
Yeah, and getting together with them is so nice. You have that in common.
Right.
That's something that you always carry with you in common.
Yeah.
So, So when you graduated, you start moving around. So what was the what was the first job you had after you graduated? Was it in your field? Because a lot of people come out and have to do something else before they actually get into their field.
Mhm.
So did you
Yeah.
transition right out into your field right after graduation?
Uh, yes, in a way. So actually, right after I graduated, in January of 2000, I entered grad school at the University of Pittsburgh. So
Mhm.
I went on to get my master's in social work. I had a little stop there because I had a baby in November of '99.
Mhm.
So, but then I immediately started back up in school in January of 2000, and I got my master's. So during that time, during an internship, I worked for a women's center and in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. And so
Mhm.
that was really like my first real job within the social work field and really put me into this whole nonprofit. So I was in nonprofit for about 18 years before I moved on to something else. But yeah, it was. I actually did, and I think it mainly was because I was going to school for getting my master's degree, and so you kind of are because of the internship, you kind of get your feet wet within your field, and then you just kind of grow from there. And I've been in it
Yeah,
ever since.
yeah, and I know the grad school extended your education and gave you it made you more qualified for what you're doing now. So
Yes.
how important was that initial education at Virginia Union to you as far as helping you shape you into the person you are today? Because it goes beyond the classroom, especially, one of the things we talked about earlier, you're away from home for the first time. You have some responsibilities that's all on you. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of things outside of the classroom doing undergrad school that a lot of people experience that helps shape them. How much of that helped shape you into what you're doing today or the person you are today?
Yeah. So, real quick before I go into that, the one great thing about coming out of uni with a bachelor's in social work and going to the University of Pittsburgh, but then also graduating with honors, I was able to when I applied to the University of Pittsburgh, um, I was able to get into their advanced standing program because of those two things. And so that allowed me to obtain my master's in just a year and a half, which was great. Um, if I didn't have those two things, it would have taken just a little longer, just 2 years as opposed to a year and a half. But there was just great benefits to that, right? But as far as other things outside of the classroom, um, I really feel like Union really helped me just understand like just who I was and who I wanted to be. And you get some of those life skills and just in who you're interacting with.
Mhm.
You begin to develop your tribe, if you will. So I don't feel like I have a lot of friends, but some of my closer friends are those individuals who I met at Union, and they've helped as far as just shaping me and allowing and just my growth. It's because of their push and their support and their encouragement. um, Growing up, as I said, my father was a pastor, so I was already doing public speaking on some sort of level, but then being at Union, especially being Miss VUU, you have to
Mhm.
present, and you're addressing individuals and you're before a group of either students or you are in front of you know the board, or you're in front of adults, or you're in front of a particular group. And so just kind of the skills that I learned there at Union definitely helped. I love public speaking.
Mhm.
I like to be on stage. So I credit Union and my parents for that. But yeah, there's a lot that you learn just understanding who you are at in college. And I feel like Union definitely helped in that area for me. And just being just a good citizen, right? A good steward. And so I learned a lot at Virginia Union, and I'm grateful for the experience.
Yeah, and especially the historic significance of the university also, I've been told by some students that came through there, was very important to them, knowing that history and also getting there. I remember thinking in the 70s that we knew everything about being Black and until we got there and uh, had certain mandatory courses we had to take in Black history and Black religion,
Mhm.
expanded our minds about the contributions that we had made, as a people.
Right,
And that sort of helped me leaving there. I thought I knew it all until I said, wow,
right.
and left there even prouder to be who I was. So let's get
Oh,
into, well, go ahead. You want to say something?
no, I was just going to say, one of the things that I remember from Virginia Union, my senior year when I became Miss Virginia Union University, at that time, our president at that time, S. Dallas Simmons, was supposed to move on, and then they
That
were
was,
thinking former Governor Wilder at that time was going to be our president. And as a student, you don't know what goes on in politics. I don't know what happened, but
yeah,
anyways,
I
he did not.
remember that. That
Yeah,
was a big mess, but
yeah. He
but
didn't
go ahead.
become our president. However, I remember there were. It might have been the Richmond Times Dispatch. Some newspaper came on campus and they interviewed some students, and I was one of the individuals that they interviewed just about, what would it have been like if you would have had, Doug Wilder as your president. And I remember saying something, I don't know what it was, but all of this to say, as far as just what you learn at Union or just that experience, and I keep this letter. This letter came to me, I can't see as you get older, September of 1998. And it's from Doug Wilder. And he just had mentioned, he congratulated me on my achievement and how he looked forward to crowning me and participating through my tenure as Miss Union. Slim, I still have this letter from 1998. And it's really pristine condition. Everywhere I go, I know where it is. I mean, this was the first Black governor of the
Yeah.
United States, right? And so it's just like, would I have experienced something like this at a PWI or maybe at another university? Probably not. But it's just like, it's things like this where it's just like, wow, like, that's pretty cool, And
Yeah,
I hold on to that.
yeah. Hold on to that. That was. I'm glad you brought that up. That was significant,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was very significant. Before we get into your presidency now with the alumni, I noticed, on your Facebook that you have favorite quotes, and one of the first ones I saw was by Booker T. Washington, and saying success is measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life, as by
Mhm.
the obstacles which one has overcome while trying to succeed.
Yeah.
How have you taken that? And I'm sure you have these special quotes up here on your bio for a reason. There was something that you probably live by now. But that one I
Mhm.
just read by Booker T. Washington, how have you taken that and used that in your life today? Or have you?
I think I have. As I briefly mentioned, when I left, when I graduated, I shouldn't say I left Virginia Union, I actually graduated from Virginia Union. And just a couple months after that, I had my daughter, who is now 25. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just like, going through when you leave college, life is like, it's like you can go anywhere, you can do anything, right? At
Mm-hmm.
least that's because if I didn't go to Pitt, it would have been Howard, because I was also accepted to Howard University, and I opted for Pitt because I was home and I was able to actually go back home and have the support of my parents as I kind of navigated what this motherhood looked like. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but life didn't have to stop for me then, right?
Right.
And so it's just like I can continue on. I still had goals to go to grad school and to go into the social work field, not knowing what it was going to end up being. But I think I've had a really great career in nonprofit and now moving on to local government. So there were some obstacles along the way, but that didn't mean those are things that I think have definitely some of the experiences that I had as a mother, as a single mom, helped shaped me to be the professional that I was when it came to what I did with nonprofit. I was able to identify with some of the parents that I was working with. I utilized some of these community or resources out there that some of the parents were also, or later on as I'm working with them, like, I've been through those things. I can help you through this, right? Because I've been where you are right now. And so ultimately, I really feel like, as far as my career is concerned, have been successful, and there's still more that I'm hoping to do now that I'm in local government. But there were just some obstacles that I had to go through, and I had the support of my family. I have a huge faith and God. And that's the one great thing about being at Union too. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, you've got to do this, or it's a Bible school, or it's a Christian school, or whatever the case may be. But, I welcomed that, considering that was my foundation. And so, through that support and through my faith, I was able to get through a lot of things to be where I am today. So, but yeah, sometimes you got to go through some rough patches, but it's all good.
Yeah, like they say, life be lifing.
Yeah.
Life be lifing. And thanks for saying that too. I think that's a great lesson to future college students too. You're in college, a lot of obstacles might come your way, but you never give up. You never give up. You have that goal, and you just don't let little things interfere with what you're trying to do. So let's get into, now you are president of the Mary Red Hampton Roads Alumni Chapter of Virginia Union University, following Dennis Riddick, who came in and sort of revitalized the Alumni Association. We've been around for a long time, but when you have organizations that have been around for a long time, you have those dips and in membership and things like that. So Dennis came and sort of brought us back up, and now you have taken over. And like I said, when we first started, you hit the ground running. What are some of the goals, or some of the, well, I'll just keep it there. What are some of the goals that you have, along with some of the things that we've been doing anyway? But,
Yeah.
When you come in, a new person come in, they have ideas and they have some directions they would like to see different organizations go. So what are some of yours?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's I'm definitely stepping into some huge shoes, and not just due to Dennis, our immediate past president, Dennis Riddick, who has done a phenomenal job with the chapter, but even just our namesake, Mary Red Nelson.
The total legacy of the group.
Oh my gosh. When I was at homecoming and I told someone that I was the president, they were like, oh, so you're now leading the infamous, and it's just like, oh, can I do this? So, but I think the great thing is there are so many great people such as yourself that are part of this chapter, and who are so supportive. And so I'm grateful for that. But, I just want to continue to grow the chapter. We have a lot of, like I said, a lot of loyal chapter members, and we want to, maintain who we have and continue to ensure that we're doing the great work that we've been doing for years. But I also know we're Hampton Roads, right? So it's not like there's a difference between there's a chapter on the peninsula or there's a chapter on the south side. It's all of that area. So there's a good number of alum in the Hampton Roads area. So definitely want to recruit new members. But in the meantime, in recruiting, it's all about just engaging alum. So even if they're not going to or decide to join our chapter initially, just trying to do some engagement activities. Back in September, before we had the Union Hampton game, we did a social mixer. We want to do more of those, gatherings where alum can come together, just so that we can do some fellowship. And hopefully, down the road, someone might come to one of those gatherings, or they come to a couple and they're like, I want to be involved. I want to join the chapter. That's great. But we do really want to just engage alum. And then support students from the Hampton Roads area. So support Virginia Union students, and then even just prospective students. So a lot of that could just be, doing some fundraisers where we can raise money, where we can give some scholarships, or just allow students from this area to know that we're here to support you. One of the things that we just decided to do is for the final exams for the fall and the spring, let's identify some students that are from the Hampton Roads area and give them like a final exam package, like a care package, where they'll get a pen or some snacks or just something to say that, and some words of encouragement that, you're ready for this exam, or you've got it in you, and your family down here in the Hampton Roads area is supporting you, and we're encouraging you. So to doing that, or one of the things that we're looking to do is a send-off in the summer before the students go back to school or new students go to Virginia Union. Let's gather together and have a send-off, and just encourage our students that way. Just this past year, we were able to give gift cards to recent graduates from this area. So there's a lot that we want to do to support our students, but then also engage our alum. So it's a lot, but I think we are capable of doing what we set out to do for this year and in the future.
Yeah, and of course, we don't do this for recognition, but I think we were recognized last year for the amount of giving that we have. Well, I'll let you tell it as far as the endowments that we established, and I think we were recognized by the National Association for.
We were. Yeah, so I would say the university, the chapter has established 2 endowments, one on behalf of Reverend Joe Fleming, and that one is specifically for individuals or students that live here in the Hampton Roads area. And then we also did establish an endowment, the Mary Red Nelson Social Work Endowment, and that is for students who are pursuing a degree in social work, and that person could be from anywhere as long as they're pursuing that degree in social work. And that's really amazing that we were able to do that. To establish an endowment, you have to have raised $25,000. We were able to do both of those within a month's time.
Yes.
That's significant. And that's significant. That's pretty amazing. And
we tried to put that out as a challenge to other alumni associations to do the same, because we have to give back and support.
Oh, for sure. And although I wasn't, and this is how my connection too came in with the chapter. Well, I was already part of the chapter, but for that Mary Red Nelson one, endowment that we did the telethon, and that's how we raised for both of those endowments. And my husband and I shared the telethon for when we did the Mary Red Nelson endowment. But so that was significant. So yes, so for homecoming, this past homecoming, our chapter received 2 awards. both mainly due to the amount of giving to the university, and an increase from what our chapter has done in giving to the university. So hopefully we will, continue on and win again. Or even if we don't win again, I think it's great friendly competition, and we'll see if another chapter wins those. But it's just nice to see those from the Hampton Roads area giving back to the university. And we definitely want to make sure that we're doing things where we have individuals who are giving to our chapter, because there are things that we do want to do on a local level to support the university and to support students that are there.
And Natalie, I think one of the other things that we try to encourage, because I think it came up one time, in most cases, most people don't join the alumni chapters until years after they have graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we've been trying to encourage students, once they graduate, to go ahead and join now. So we pay their first year's dues, to make sure to encourage them, that not be the issue why they not join. And the sooner they join, the more they can get involved. And we need that young energy. We need that young feedback to keep up with what's happening now and what's going on now. So that's another thing that we try to do to get the students involved in sooner than later.
Right. And what I think that is so key is that, that first year, they don't have to pay dues, for the chapter, because we want them to immediately get connected to us. So I think there's some great benefit. I mean, and who's in our chapter. We have some really great individuals who could help, just like, even if someone just wanted help with like resume building or connections or whatever the case may be. There's some great benefit in being a part of the chapter in that way, just networking. But our dues aren't that much either. So, annually our dues are $50. We actually just recently did it.
Just raised it.
Yeah.
After years.
Yeah. Right. So, and then, coupled with, if someone wanted to decide to join the National Alumni Association, that too is, $50. And so there's benefits there for being a part of that. But, we keep our dues low, but there's definitely a lot of work to be done. And like you said, we could really use some of that young energy as well, and some of the ideas as we, kind of branch out. Like one of the things that we recently did outside of anything related to the university, but really giving back to the Hampton Roads areas, we did a season of giving food and fun drive where we supported the food bank, the Virginia Peninsula Food Bank. And then we also recently collaborated with Sansi, our treasurer, her nonprofit, where we were able to support 2 families during the Christmas holiday, and giving back and giving some gifts to the children. So it's like that community engagement piece too,
right.
That we want to kind of be out there and supporting. Yes, we want to support our university, but we want to support our community. Our communities.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad you brought that point up too. We go outside of our main mission is to support our university, but there are others out there in need, and that's like a responsibility that we have as well, and we take that on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're getting down to the end, and I appreciate you sharing all the information. But before you go, I asked all the alums that come on here that if you were in a situation and you said you like to speak, and you were in front of some potential students, what would your pitch be to them to attend Virginia Union University, especially with all these other opportunities that they might have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I would first, really want to talk to them and see, what are their thoughts about college and what do they think about? And what's their ideal experience? And I would just like to let them know, like, if you go to Virginia Union University, you will feel at home. You'll get that home feel. You will feel that connection. You'll be able to speak to your professors. You'll be able to connect with other faculty and staff. You won't just be a number. People will know your name. And it's enough away from home for some people, where, you can start to become who you are. You will develop your own identity. And Union will help shape you to be an amazing individual, but you have to make it when you go on campus, and a lot of people have their thoughts and feelings about Union, but the experience that you have to make that experience. You have to get involved. You can't shy away. And in the end, you're really going to benefit from being more involved in the university as much as you can to do that. But if you're really looking for an institution or college that cares about you, Virginia Union, you should really consider. And not only consider, you should apply and you should attend. So that would be my pitch.
Thanks for that. That was very convincing. I think I might want to go back. But anyway,
I wish I could have convinced my daughter, but she did well in Norfolk State, so I can't.
That's okay. I mean, and I always say, of course, you want them to go to VUU, but support HBCUs, and if the opportunity comes where you have to go to, another college other than HBCU, that's fine. You go where the opportunity is for you. But it's nothing like that HBCU experience.
That's right.
Save the other schools for your grad opportunities.
That's what I
did. But anyway, again, please like, subscribe, comment, and share this information. And I know a lot of the alums will agree. It's so hard to be a Panther, but it's worth it.
It is worth it. And I was just thinking that I'm so glad I went to VUU. So it's quite an experience. And like I said, 4 of the best years of my life, 1500 North Lombardy Street.
Yeah. And if you think I put you on, put the pressure on you this time, next time you come on, bring your instrument. I'm going to ask you to play your instrument.
You know what? I'd rather dance.
Yeah, I'm sure when you were in that band, they said, yeah, come join a band, just play low.
I was just like this.
Well, at least you were there. It got you to all the CIAA games. Well, thanks again. We appreciate it. And everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the VUU Panther Nation Alumni Show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.